Okay, moving quickly on to finding a micro niche. Okay, so research your market. We call this your blue ocean. You need to find a micro niche or a blue ocean so that you can get people that will go looking for you. Or when you start advertising what you offer, people realize very quickly you have what they need and you're the one to work with. If you go into something called a red ocean, we call, that's full of lots of competition. There's too much competition in that red ocean. They're all sharks. They're going to try and take a bite out of each other. They're reducing prices continuously, and actually they're making it really difficult for everybody to operate. And what happens is there's so much competition. They're all trying to get the business. They're all reducing their prices and offering more. And actually it gets to the stage where they've reduced their prices so much that they actually can't build a viable business. They can't make the numbers work for themselves. So we need to find a blue ocean. We need to find a micro niche, something where you can easily stand out. Okay, so let me give you an example. So back in 1998, when I started my first business, I was doing some research. It was about 6 months prior to, and I wanted to set up an investment banking recruitment business. Now, I worked in the City of London at the time, was doing really well. I was working in the Square Mile, working with investment bankers there, and there was over 2,000 agencies in that Square Mile. So I knew for me at this time, this was a red ocean. Now, guys, at the time, I didn't have the language to know that it was a red ocean. I didn't really know that this was important, but that's what I kind of had intuitively knew. So at the time, 2,000 agencies in the Square Mile, I knew this was a red ocean, and I knew it would be really difficult to compete. So I found a new location, and that was Dublin. So I did the research. There was no other financial services recruiter in that space at the time. And also at that time, Ireland was becoming part of the Euro, and actually the UK were not. 15 of the top 20 world banks were in that location at the time. And so I thought, right, let me get going. And that's what I did. I reached in, I talked to these particular banks. I talked to the competition. I knew exactly what they did. There was no competition in my space at the time. So I went over, packed up my car. I started with one other assistant, and within the first year, I made $1 million. Now, I don't say that to say how good I am. It's not that. I say that because I chose the market really well, and my timing was right. I got the wave, and I caught that wave. I found a market, I found a micro niche, and I went in and I owned it. I became the #1 person in that place, and actually people then looked for me. Now, other micro niches, there was a company that were trying to sell vintage cars. It was in the West Midlands, and it actually just didn't work for them. They couldn't make it work. And then they pivoted their offer, and they created a business that sold vintage car parts. Okay, and they have built a multiple £1 million online business selling vintage car parts that people come from around the world online to buy these parts. It's been incredible. There was another company that I did some work with, a jam company. They're in the north of England. They initially started to try and sell jam locally, and it just didn't work because there was too much competition. They could, it was too expensive. They were doing this hand by hand. It was costing them way too much, and they just could not build a viable business. And guys, again, what they realized when they went out to market and they did the research, that what was in demand was beautiful jam jars for people that wanted to make their own jams at home. So they now have a jam jar business, and that's all they're selling, jam jars online. They sell all around the world, and they're doing phenomenally well. So again, super important, find your micro niche. And if you find your micro niche, this is going to be the big difference, the big differentiator, hopefully for you to be able to build a sustainable business.